Hi, this is Jen from Our Change of Art, and today I'm going to be showing you a card using some of our new inks that we just released on the Altenew website. There are a few different color families, so I'm just going to quickly introduce them. First, we have the yellows. We have a nice, really soft yellow called Buttercream, a pretty golden yellow called Warm Sunshine. We have Caramel Toffee and Paper Bag, and these are closer to the brown family of colors. We also have some gorgeous pinks and reds. So the lightest is Frosty Pink. We have Coral Berry, Ruby Red, and then Grapevine. And the last set that we have is some green, Frayed Leaf, Forest Glades, and Evergreen, and we also have a nice jet black ink. Now, these inks are awesome because not only are they water-based, but they have a really crisp impression the first time that you stamp them. No need to wait for them to even out like some other inks, and they really have some wonderful properties, and I think you're gonna love using them. You can buy them either in these large full-size ink pads, and we also have sets of cubes in the 3 color families that I just described. Now, I'm losing my sunshine coming through the window, so I'm going to try to make a card as quickly as possible. I have here just a plain sheet of vellum, and since this vellum is nice and transparent, I was trying to think of what I can use, which Altenew stamps I have that would look really good with a transparent technique. And we have the birthday greeting set, which includes a balloon, and since balloons kind of have that translucency, I knew this would be perfect. And just so that I know and I can see what I'm doing, I'm going to just put a plain piece of paper right behind it. Now, I have my stamp mounted onto an acrylic block, and I think my favorite ink of this release is the Coral Berry. So I'm going to be using this pretty much for the whole card and then only going back in for the sentiment in a new color. Now, since the inks are water-based and this is vellum, you're going to notice that it's not going to stamp as pretty as it normally would. So just to show you how pretty the inks are, I will stamp one balloon right onto this paper. And you'll see right away the excellent coverage that I get even with a solid stamp such as this one. So just right onto the paper like this. As always, apply firm pressure, nice and even, and lift up, and wow, that is just perfect. You know, you couldn't ask for a more crisp and solid image. So keep that in mind. This is what it normally looks like when you stamp it, but I'm going for a different effect here using the watercolor properties, so that's why I'm doing it on the vellum, but it looks really pretty on its own as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and stamp balloons all over this. You have to be careful when you're stamping on vellum because it is very possible for the stamp to shift. So you just want to go straight down, press with firm pressure, and then lift straight up. Okay, and you could already see the difference between the ink stamped on paper and the ink stamped onto the vellum. So now you can see the kind of watercolory look that you have just from stamping onto this slick vellum. Now, since this is still wet on the surface of the vellum, I'm going to go ahead with my heat gun and just speed up the drying process a bit. So this is cute and all as is, but I want this to be a whole balloon party. So I'm going to flip it over to the back and now do a second layer of stamping. And you'll see how the ones that are on the underneath kind of fade into the background, and the fresh balloons that I'm going to stamp on top are going to pop to the foreground. And here are the finished balloons. I just love how soft, translucent, and ethereal everything looks, and the little imperfections you get from having that water-based ink on the vellum. Now, just to finish off these balloons, I'm going to draw some free-form strings hanging down. Now, some of my friends know how I am not a fan of like the wiggly strings coming down from the balloon. I don't have anything against anybody who does that. I actually think it's really cute, but I personally have trouble doing it just because I think about balloon strings always just kind of hanging straight up and down. So I could get out my ruler, which is actually what I usually do, but I think to go along with the style of this card, having them a little bit wavy will be just perfect. So I'm going to draw straight lines by hand, and of course they're not going to come out perfect, which I think will be really cute. Okay, now I certainly want to mount this onto a white card base, and that's because any other color might kind of ruin the pretty look that we have going on here. I have some nice heavyweight cardstock here. This is actually from Michaels. It's their own brand, and I don't remember the weight of it offhand, but you'll see that they have two different types of cardstock. One is really flimsy and horrible. They're the cheap packs, and I wouldn't recommend that anybody get them. But the heavyweight that they have in white is actually really great. It's nice and thick, and I love using it for card bases. And I also hear that the heavyweight Neenah cardstock is also good. I use the solar white when I'm doing card panels and things like that are going to be layers on a card, but not structural card bases themselves, because the 80-pound just isn't enough for that. But I think the Neenah is maybe a 110 pound, and that should be good for a card base too. And yes, this is my Teflon bone folder because it is awesome. And I know you know that because I love it and talk about it every time I make a video. Alright, now I'm contemplating how to adhere this down. I'm not sure yet. I was thinking maybe staples. I was thinking maybe sewing it. That might be what I end up doing, but for now, I'm just going to put it aside and start working on my sentiment. So as I was getting my sentiment stamp ready, I changed my mind. I guess I lied to you at the beginning of the video when I said I was going to be using another ink color for the sentiment. I was originally going to use our our jet black crisp ink, but I decided to emboss the sentiment. So just to show you how really awesome the jet black is, I'll just show you this swatch book I have. These are a lot of the inks that I use, some of my Hero Arts and some other companies. And now my favorite inks are definitely the Altenew inks, so I added them to the swatch book. And this black truly is a jet black, and it makes such a nice, clean, and crisp impression. And it's a really great one to have in your collection. But like I said, I'm going to be using some Versamark ink, and that way I can emboss this with some nice white embossing powder onto a strip of black cardstock. Okay, so I'll set that aside and now take out some embossing powder. I'm realizing that I totally forgot to use my anti-static on here. I might need to do this again. All right, let's hope for the best. Uh-oh, I'm really scared now. Okay. Please, please, please. Okay, just a few stray bits. Okay, I can handle this. I recommend that you definitely use some kind of anti-static tool whenever you do embossing, whether it's an embossing buddy bag or those little, I forget what it's called, but the one with the little brush on the end. Or what I do is I just have a container of cornstarch and I use an old brush, and I use that to just brush it on, and it's really great for preventing static. But to get rid of just these few little flecks, I have a stylus here, and you can brush them away. I've also used an X-Acto knife before, or if it's a big area, you can use a dry paintbrush to get rid of those little embossing bits. Okay, I'm just going to finish cleaning this up, and I will heat it up with the heat gun, and I will show you the completed card. And here's the completed card. I bet you're curious how I ended up adhering this front part here. And it turns out that regular old tape runner adhesive works just fine underneath the vellum when you apply it to the parts that have ink, because I can't see it at all, and that was the easiest solution for me. And I'm also going to keep this front flap loose. I considered tacking it down, but I think it's really cool that the recipient can kind of see that it's a clear layer. So I really hope you give some Altenew inks a try. They're really awesome, and we're going to be coming out with more colors soon. If you have any colors that you'd like to see, just let us know in the comments. Thanks. Bye.